Check, check, check. Hello. Nice. Cool.
It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. And our first order of business is public input for items that are not on our agenda. Do we have any public? You can step up to the podium or join us on Teams. And seeing no public, I will move on to the next item of business, approval of minutes for May 14th, 2024 and May 15th, 2024.
I move approval.
Second.
I didn't understand that.
Do you want me to explain? So we had a joint meeting of the Stormwater Management Board and the Drainage Board. So the Stormwater Board didn't vote on anything at that May 15th meeting, but we had a quorum present, and so Donna still wrote up minutes summarizing what was discussed.
Okay, thank you.
We need a second. Did
Yes.
you get a second?
I did.
Oh, thank you.
And we have to do roll call because Commissioner Githens is online.
Yep. Are there any corrections or changes? Seeing none, Ms. Setonia, if you would please call the roll.
Julie Thomas,
Yes.
Penny Githens,
Yes.
Lee Jones,
Yes.
John Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next item of business is the stormwater expenditure reports for May and June.
Okay, for May, we did have fleet maintenance, 26, I don't know about you, but it's small print, 26,000 because we had to have the grate all repaired. And then on-call contract, we spent over 8,200, and that is your traffic officers. We also transferred 40,000 from professional services into general engineering services. And we spent over 17,000 that month on the general engineering. And for the fuel for May was $6,151.74. We did a lot of street sweeping, so that was over 5,000 just for the debris. So any questions about May or?
I guess just a question about the general engineering services. Could you expand on that just a bit? I know there's a lot of moving projects all the time, so just that would be beneficial for me.
It's just how we're billing some of our contracts for plan review and some other task orders we had for engineering services. I think previously it's been unclear what should go under professional, so professional fees or general engineering services. I think this cleans things up a little bit to have more of those types of contracts under the general engineering services line. So.
And I guess just one kind of follow-up comment is, I'm curious if it would be helpful to have like a dedicated line for kind of the review process, so maybe we can tally up that dollar amount over the years, over a number of years, and ever see if it's, you know, within the interest of the county as a cost-saving measure to have a drainage engineer on staff. And I think if we dedicate a line that's meant for that one purpose, it'll be easier to kind of do that analysis. Just kind of a comment there. It's hard to tell if we would make any savings having our own drainage engineer on staff versus contracting out that work.
So in the future, starting, I guess, effective recently with our new stormwater management ordinance, we will be charging the drainage plan review fees to the applicants, developers. So I do not anticipate having to pay those plan review fees in the future. And we do those services with a couple of different consultants. So.
Right. And I mean, I guess the benefit of having potentially someone on staff is a lot broader than just the reviews. So thanks for that kind of added information there. So.
TSD, could we please have the captions on our screen? And we will now move on to our next item of business, which is a letter of support for Friends of Lake Monroe for the 319 implementation grant.
I'm sorry, Lee, we have one more report for June. Sorry. if
Oh,
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry, I did skip ahead. But TSD, I'm not seeing the captions. Well, you go ahead and continue, and hopefully something will come up.
Okay. So it wasn't too bad. General engineering, we did pay out over 2,600 just for the Bean Blossom Creek planning analysis. We also paid out for the Clear Creek Homes new office, the VA medical clinic, the Sintra project Greenlight, the U-Haul development, and public education. We paid out 3,500 on the MOU, and we also bought a new dump truck. So that was 127,283.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
I have one clarification comment. So the purchase for the dump truck, I believe we will be seeing a second charge for that when we receive the truck, hopefully later this year. I believe this charge is for just the chassis that they're charging us for when they receive it, and it's sitting on the lot currently. We're waiting for the bed to be delivered. I believe that's the current situation, so I will update you on that as I receive more information.
I'm sorry, without the captions, I find you very hard to hear, and I can't see you over the computer, so I can't read your lips.
That's fine.
If you could maybe speak up a little.
The charge for the dump truck is only partial. We will receive a second charge when it's completed. Right now, the chassis is just sitting on the lot, and so they charge us for it now, which is a new policy that they have. So, a partial dump truck.
Thank you.
It's just been a while. What did we budget for that dump truck? Was it 150, or do you recall? That was kind of a last minute added addition to our budget.
I want to say it was 215 total.
Okay. Do you think we're going to stay underneath that budgeted amount?
I may need an additional, because we had to pay for a few other things out of that line that weren't anticipated. And Elisa is aware of that. We held off on the additional for now, but we may need a few $1,000s in there when that final charge comes in, but we have time.
And that would be additional versus an in-house transfer?
Because it's in the 40s,
Okay.
so we don't have anything else.
Capital improvement, sorry.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. If there are no further questions, we will now proceed to new business, which is support for Friends of Lake Monroe 319 implementation grant. And
Okay, so we have Sherry and Maggie here from Friends of Lake Monroe. They have approached us with a request for support for a Section 319 non-point source pollution reduction grant through the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. This grant will be their second round of implementation for conservation projects in the Lake Monroe watershed. The request is for a total of $75,000 cash match from the Stormwater Management Board. This will be $25,000 over the course of a 3-year project. I've drafted a letter of support based on previous letters we've submitted and included the $75,000 cash match as well as some in-kind match that our staff can provide. So Maggie and Sherry, would you like to explain anything more?
It will come on when you speak.
It was turned on.
It comes on when you speak. Yep.
It's not on.
Oh, it's
The
not?
green light's not on.
Oh.
May need a new battery.
She can come sit up here. You can, or you can come sit, whatever you want.
Just turn it around. Hi. Well, yeah, we appreciate the support that the Stormwater Board has given us in the past for developing the watershed management plan and for our most recent round of funding for implementation, which we have almost totally spent down the amount for cost share for that project, which is putting projects like riparian restoration and cover crops in the Monroe County or Lake Monroe watershed. This next grant is going to be a little bigger, a little longer time frame, which is what IDEM likes to see. It's going to be more competitive, we've been told, and so we're really hoping that we can have this cash match so that we can put $250,000 worth of cost share money on the ground and do more septic education and outreach. Lake Monroe Day has been a big success, and we're working this year with the state DNR to incorporate Lake Monroe Day activities with the 60th anniversary of Lake Monroe. Yeah, this would help us very much in terms of making our application stand out. We have been told in the past that one of the things that makes our application so attractive is our cash match. And besides what we're bringing to the table in terms of our actual grant money, we have all sorts of in-kind match from IU, SPIA, and other organizations. So we're really bringing a lot ultimately to the table for this match of $75,000. And happy Maggie or I could answer any questions that you have.
A few, but I will say that microphone, it's not tied down. You could move it to the podium if you're more comfortable. So I feel like it just lifts right up off the table.
It's not wired in.
Yeah.
So you can take it.
It just might make a nicer dialogue conversation.
Sure.
I guess my question kind of goes back to when we were looking at this first, and have you had any discussions with the city of Bloomington? Because, I remember when we went through the watershed study, initially they were going to match us. It took a little while for them to match us, but they eventually did. You remember we attended one of the utility boards meeting when they amended the agenda and allocated the funds. Do you know what their thoughts are on this? Have you engaged in any conversation?
Yes, we've had conversations with both the sustainability director and the City of Bloomington Utilities director, and it is their intention to provide the match. And so, of course, they can't say definitely until, all the board has approved and so forth, but I feel fairly confident that we will get an identical match from the city.
Right, and I feel pretty optimistic about that too. So I guess to really clarify, we would be obligating this, but if the city matched, we would be only paying half of the 75 being requested?
No, this is for 3 years salary for our watershed coordinator. So that's a total of 150 that would be split between the city and the county.
Okay, last time we did this, we obligated the full amount and then the city supplement that. But this is a different type of approach, it seems like. So you're just asking for what we would be obligated for. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
Yes, I have one that kind of came up because of discussion that occurred earlier today. As you do all the wonderful work with Lake Monroe, is there any way to test for glyphosates in the water?
Test for glyphosate? Yes. Generally, and I haven't looked at this recently, so I can't tell you exactly, but what is done by the city and maybe at certain times by the state also, that there's a general for aromatics, which includes the herbicides and pesticides and other toxic compounds. And so that has been done in the past. I can't really tell you offhand, but that has not shown up as being a problem for Lake Monroe. You want to add anything to that, Maggie? Yeah.
I get.
Thank you.
Oh, I had another, I didn't want to jump in. Were you? So this is really just to continue for the salary for the watershed coordinator. And I guess more studies we do, more issues that we identify, those are more concerns and things we need to fix. Could you speak to how we've been able to tackle some of the issues that we have identified and where that funding kind of comes from? For example, I know we do the mailers for the septics and a couple other kind of public engagement things, but could you expand on any of that, or Maggie?
Well, our watershed management plan, that first round where we developed the watershed management plan, we did extensive monitoring and analysis of that data. And that led us to focus on nutrients and sediments and E. coli. And that's based on the data. And so that has been our focus. And this is how we've implemented this cost share with the goal of reducing nutrient and sediment input into the streams. We're not able to procure 319 funds for septic, so we have worked with the Stormwater Board and with the Community Foundation to conduct septic workshops, educate people. Maggie's done a tremendous job with that. People have really appreciated. I'm just really surprised how enthusiastic some people are about learning about their septic, and that says a lot for Maggie. So we have done that and then offered assistance in terms of maintaining septic systems and financial assistance, both from stormwater funds and also from the Community Foundation funds. So we're not so much in the mode of looking at new data for trying to determine what new problems are out there. We certainly deal with issues such as the Hoosier National Forest plans on logging and burning in the watershed, and but those fall completely outside of the funds that were given for 319 or otherwise, and are basically volunteer efforts. So we work a lot to provide awareness to people in the watershed, and also then to find those people who are willing and able to work with us, provide the cost share in order to do these cost share projects that reduce sediment and nutrients.
My very last question is, so do you think moving forward, this grant will allow our watershed Coordinator Maggie to kind of look more broadly at potential solutions to kind of the concerns and issues that we're identifying since we've already, conducted the study. It seemed like you touched on that a little bit, but is that in the scope of the 319 grant as far as work that can be performed?
Well, our watershed management plan has an action plan, and in that action plan are potential solution. Here's the problem. Here's what we can do. Here's what that action will reduce, how much it will reduce the nutrients or sediment, and how much it will cost. Who might fund it, those types of things. Another thing that we did with funding from the Community Foundation was to bring decision makers from throughout the watershed together to show them that action plan and say, now what part of this action plan will you engage with us on, or not particularly with us, but with other organizations. That's one place where we will be looking elsewhere for more funding to get back to those people, pull them together, and not lose track of that effort. But in terms of 319 funding to do more research, that's generally not what they're looking for. What they're looking for is that, okay, you put together a plan, and this is 20 years of implementation. This is a long-term project. And so here's your plan. Now we're going to show us how you're going to implement that plan. Let us know if you need funding, and we'll work with you to try to obtain that funding. And we also are looking at other sources as well, but at this point, this is our main funder for these cost share projects.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just really love the fact that we don't just identify the problems, the plan becomes static, and we're continuing to try to move forward to resolve some of these issues. So thank you. I really appreciate all your answers.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments?
Thank you for bringing this.
Commissioner Givens?
No, I'm so pleased that we have an organization like this in Monroe County that's willing to take this on.
Yeah, this is a pretty important thing for everyone who lives here.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your support.
And I believe I need a motion.
I'll move to approve the support for Friends of Lake Monroe 319 implementation grant.
Second.
Sutonia?
Julie
Public
Thomas.
comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any public comments? I'll be floored if we ever get one.
I know. Get down.
I know. Now, would you please call the roll?
Julie Thomas.
Yes.
Lee Jones.
Yes.
Penny Giddens.
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to the draft of the 2025 Stormwater Budget, 1197, and the creation of a new stormwater technician position.
Okay, so I want to give an initial disclaimer that Lisa and I haven't had a chance to sit down and discuss this budget in detail. So this is an initial presentation, and I'm looking for feedback. We will all discuss it over the next few weeks, and then I hope to bring you a final draft budget in August for your approval. Okay. Personnel will remain the same except for, I heard as we were going over the new stormwater management ordinance, a request to create a new position to assist with inspections and implementation of the ordinance and doing some of the smaller tasks that the county has not been able to get to as much, such as following up on conditions of approval for various items and inspecting some of the permitted sites that we now require that are covered under our stormwater regulations in the county. So I have framed this as a stormwater technician position and have started the process of writing job description and plan to take a job description to PAC if you have this, if you support this. So yeah, so those are the general duties I expect to incorporate into a job description. The new position I expect will be located probably under our stormwater inspector, Erica, since she is doing all of the construction and post-construction inspections and managing new infrastructure. So that is my current proposal, and I welcome your feedback on that.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
My question has just been answered. So that was my who do they report to? And I do hope that you can get a clear sailing on the PAC agenda so that we can get this implemented. But, you know, we can still budget for it even if that process hasn't been done. So I think I would ask that you include it in the budget even if we don't have PAC approval yet for the new position. Thank you.
I briefly talked to Kelsey prior to the meeting just to make sure I was going to be present, but then it kind of spiraled into a couple questions. And yeah, my question was, who do they report to? What is your expectation or request for classification? And you said PAC, but I think if you come more prepared to the Personnel Advisory Committee of exactly what you want, that could be helpful, because then they'll send that to WISC, and you know, they actually really look at what we're recommending. So also, I guess I would suggest let's budget a potential 8-year hire, because that would be great if we brought someone in with a lot of experience or was able to even promote in-house and they had that type of experience. That's really all I have, except for one other thing, and I don't know because I haven't combed through all the job descriptions, and I know that if we add a new position, that's going to slightly adjust other job descriptions, which we might also see a slight increase on these existing duties and roles. I'm really curious with some of the GIS management of what is now going on with best management practice and other things, and I'm not talking about software providers like Esri and Cartograph. I'm talking about just managing those duties and that data, GIS. If we haven't yet put that in a job description, I think this is a great opportunity, and I think we really need to consider that so we can make that, you know, a permanent kind of a responsibility of the office to maintain. So it's not just thrown under as assigned type duties. Also, I will say that I've gone through PAC several times and worked with WISC several times to make sure that they understand kind of, you know, the skill sets and appreciate the role that people do that work in GIS fields. So, yeah, as I mentioned to you earlier, just reach out if you want any suggestions of how to write this out in a job description, because I think I've done 3 of them. And they all have GIS responsibilities. So that's it. And I agree with Commissioner Thomas about let's just go ahead and budget it and hope that it sells through PAC and the council.
Commissioner Githens, do you have any?
I think it's important to also let people know that this will be covered by the fees that will be assessed, that this new position will be supported that way. But also some of this is sort of been pushed on us by the state government.
True.
Well, I also think that the stormwater technician position is going to be very helpful. I think we've needed someone in this position for a long time, and I'm certainly very supportive of it and hope that PAC will feel the same way.
Thank you,
Um,
everyone.
And now, is there any public comment on this item?
We
So
don't
would you like me
actually
to-
need to vote on
Yeah,
this.
would you
Oh,
like me
we
to go
don't.
through the rest of the budget as well? And
Oh,
then I
that's
don't
right.
need
I'm
a
not
vote
gonna- yeah,
today.
of course
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Well, we will.
Yes, eventually.
Mhm.
I'm practicing.
Okay.
So I will go line by line. I've made notes on the right-hand column on what we have changed from last year's budget. Office supplies, I'm increasing because if you hire another person, we'll need more office supplies. And just with the permitting and having to print permits and letters and everything, our costs are going up. Let's see. Keeping official records, field crew supplies, and fleet maintenance supplies the same. Testing sampling equipment, I'm asking to increase that line to $3,500. It was $500 previously. We've come up pretty close buying different supplies. We bought a meter to measure chlorine in water. Basically, we need to see if it's a drinking water line or a spring. And so things like that we buy for the crew and for our own sampling program. I would like to buy our own flow meter, which is about $3,000, so that we can properly measure flow when we do our water quality monitoring program. And that will allow us to have more accurate data, be able to calculate pollutant loads as we do nutrient sampling. And I think it'll be a good improvement. So, okay. We need to increase our seed and mulch and plantings line for the crew. The cost of seed and bales has gone up quite a bit. And this year we decided to move away from the hydro seeding we had tried the year before. And so we are applying seed and straw to more areas in lieu of the hydro seeding we had tried previously. Buying the straw blower has been wonderful. The crew has had wonderful things to say about the straw blower. So they're doing a lot of erosion control work, and so I'm proposing to increase, based on the amount that we have spent so far this year, to a total of $15,000 for seed and mulch. Keeping the line for pipes and other stormwater infrastructure to $40,000, the same. Backfill, we're going to decrease that a little bit to offset some of the other increases, because unless we have like catastrophic, stream bank failures and things, but we're not going to be spending quite that much. So I propose decreasing that a bit. Signs, that's pretty standard. We have a few $1,000s to buy signs each year. We have additional line for equipment vehicle repairs. That's for supplies that we don't stock ourselves and are special to some of the special equipment that we have. That's not changing. Training and travel, keeping to $12,000. That'll be, for all the stormwater and MS4 staff. Software is remaining the same. On-call construction services, that includes our flagging bills. That will remain the same. Remote monitoring, that has paid for some of the bills from Fieldstone. That is remaining the same. Laboratory fees remaining the same. Disposal fees right now remaining the same, but I do want to look and make sure that we don't need to increase that. It may be a slight increase next year. I just didn't think to look into that before this. So it'll be about $20,000. General engineering services. So this is where we're changing to just clean things up a little bit, put more of the engineering services contracts under this one account line. So we're increasing it by 35, but you see a similar decrease in the professional fees line. So we're just changing how we're categorizing some of those engineering contracts. Hydro seeding, we are decreasing that because of the straw blower. We're just not hydro seeding as much. I'll leave a little bit in there in case we contract out some hydro seeding. Good housekeeping for stormwater infrastructure at the highway garage remains the same. Again, professional services, we're decreasing that, but still leaving funding in there for other studies and other professional contracts that aren't as related to engineering. Public education and participation, this is $35,000 for the soil and water conservation district grant program as well as some other education programming. Printing and advertising, that remains the same. That's for mailers and other educational items that we have printed professionally. Fuel remains the same. Thank goodness. Postage and freight remains the same. Communications remains the same. Drug testing, we had to increase that, and we just matched what we've transferred this year. For some reason, we have had to do more testing. So, insurance remains the same. Refunds remains the same. Lake Monroe water quality. So this is a combination of two projects. This is the Friends of Lake Monroe 319 grant match, as well as the MOU that we do annually with the Lake Monroe Water Fund for their water monitoring for the stream gauge project that they have. So a total of $78,500 under this Lake Monroe account line. And for any funding through this, we'll have a memorandum of understanding that will come before you before we distribute any of those funds. Okay. Reprographics for our printing fees, $500. That is a new line from this year with the new printers. Utilities, rental of equipment remains the same. I'm keeping some funding in Baby Creek, but I need to talk to Lisa to see what direction we want to go with that. And then Stip Road and Morris Creek Road are my big project. And most of the construction for this I anticipate paying for with our cash balance for the Stormwater Fund. I put in the amount that it will cost for the Stip Road construction in 2025. And I'm going to talk to Lisa about how she'd like me to do all this. But if you remove that $2 million, it has a more reasonable looking stormwater budget that's closer to the revenue we receive annually. So again, I will work through that and make sure it's clear in August. Equipment, I'm keeping a few $1,000s under equipment. I've had a couple requests recently. One is one of our concrete saws has required some maintenance, and we got a quote for a new one, but I said, let me see if it can get fixed, and I'll put it in the 2025 budget for a new one. So I wanted to make sure there's some funding in there for things like that the crew may need. And then I do not currently have a vehicle purchase or equipment purchase. Vehicle equipments are interchangeable. I don't have anything proposed right now for any large purchases, but Lisa did bring up our grade all has been needing significant maintenance. It was down for a total of 6 months over this past winter. And it's a very important piece of equipment that only grade all makes. And the quote we received last year for a new one was close to $500,000. But especially with the recent storm event, it just showcases the importance of that equipment being able to move across the county quickly and have a strong piece of equipment to, it's just very versatile, being able to clear trees, to ditch, and do some of the primary functions of our department. So I am going to talk to Lisa on the side and see if that's the direction we'd like to go in for 2025. So, any questions?
So the 11.25 for the personnel, that does not include the new proposed stormwater technician in there, right?
No, those are the numbers from the 2024 budget. I haven't changed any of those numbers yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a few. I just didn't want to go first every single time. Quickly, I just ran through things. On-call contractual services at 75. I guess it just kind of caught my attention because it's a larger dollar amount, but it seems like we're needing that budgeted around that amount, especially since we do some housekeeping throughout the year. Just wanted to say great job on looking at the housekeeping. Also, I put yay for the hydro seeding and the decrease at 25, so that was my note there. I guess really, I'll just jump down. It's the decrease of 500,000 from Baby Creek, which I think is you're going to provide more information, and then the $2 million for Stip Road and Morris Creek. I guess my question there, does that actually bring the project to like 100% completion at that 2 million?
Yes.
Okay. I am so happy for that one. The dollar placeholder, great way to kind of manage the budget. Sometimes I forget that and those lines go away and you have to go through the whole process of creating the line. So kudos to that. And my final question, what is our cash balance?
Great question. Our cash balance is currently at $4,690,243.31.
And how much do we have left of this year that we allocated? Not saying we'll spend it all down.
I don't have that number on the top
No.
of my head.
I guess what I would really like when we look at this again is kind of what we have kind of remainder budgeted for this year, the cash balance, and so then I can kind of look at what's being requested at, $3,800,000, and really understand what kind of cash balance would have if we spent everything down, which rough math seems like it'd be north of 500,000, maybe a little north of $1 million, but I'm not going to try to just, do that on the back of a napkin right now. So, but that would be very helpful for me.
Tron, just to let you know, at the end of June, we have paid out almost $1 million.
Okay. Okay. That gives me some more tangible information. So thank you.
And we receive close to $2.5 million annually for the stormwater fee.
Right. And we got a good cash. So it seems like we got a good buffer there.
Yeah, my goal was to not take on any debt with the Stip Road and Morris Creek Road projects. So we will be able to complete those by the end of 2025 using our cash.
Okay. Well, great. And then again, just, that kind of bottom dollar of what we would look at if we do spend everything down in 2024 and potentially spend down what we're budgeting for 2025, where that leaves us with the cash balance, I think is kind of what my curiosity is.
Sure.
So.
And also we'll be getting receipts from the treasurer for the fall. We for the spring we got just under $1.5 million, $1,469,812.29.
Okay, so that means
that will be added into, yes.
Okay, so exactly. That's why I'm not trying to rough the math. So there's some income that I'm not accounting for. So, or revenue coming in I'm not accounting for. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, let's move on to staff reports.
I would just like to give a quick update on Morris Creek Road. So we have a contract with Milestone Construction for the construction of Morris Creek Road. We're finishing up some final utility relocation agreements, discussions with Duke Energy. They are working diligently to get to the point where they can do their utility pole relocation, and that will most likely occur concurrently with the construction of the roadway. We are at the point where we're scheduling a pre-construction meeting at some point in the next couple of weeks. So it's getting started and we're very excited. So that's all. That's all? I can talk more if you'd like, but that's the main update for you.
Well, that's certainly very exciting yeah. I seem to have been hearing about this for a long time. It's nice to see it heading somewhere. And if there's nothing else, we can be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what's wrong with that.
I get used to reading the captions too.
Sometimes I can hear people from